Hi, my name is Jeremy, and today I want to talk to you about this topic called Are You Missing Your Targets? Let me repeat that. Are you missing your targets, your sales targets, or could be any type of targets? And that's something that a lot of businesses who fear and worry about, right? What happens? Why do we miss our targets? But the second part of this topic, which is more interesting, is how to make sure you don't get blindsided in business. And that's really because when we miss targets or we miss something, it is because of this thing called being blindsided, which means that we are being hit by something that we did not expect. So, before we go into the topic, let me just introduce to you again. If you have been following all these videos, you will know that the key concepts come from this book, Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. Vern is a great business teacher who has helped thousands of companies across the world to scale. And what we want to do is share with you some of the concepts in this book that will prevent you from being blindsided. So, who am I? My name is Jeremy, and I work as a coach with the CEOs in Asia who want to implement the ideas found in the book Scaling Up. So, I coach them through this process where they inbuild the concepts in the book into their company, into the habits, into the way they run the business, so that they will be able to apply and these ideas come alive. And today I'm going to share with you from two of my clients their stories about how they got blindsided and how we could prevent that from happening. So, we all know that missing targets cause a lot of stress, right? How many of you here can identify with missing targets? I'm sure all of us, right? If we are in business and we say, oh, we have never missed targets before, I think we are lying, right? It's really so many things can happen that can cause us to miss targets. And when that happens, we go through a lot of stress. We go through a lot of stress trying to play catch up. But the key thing here is how do we make sure we don't actually come to this point in the first place? Prevention is better than cure. So what can we do to make sure we don't miss our targets? So to do that, I think we need to understand what does this term being blindsided means. If we look at this picture in the car is hitting something, right? And what happens is that probably the driver has lost his consciousness, or he's not paying attention to the details, or something just happened, which means that he has an outcome which he did not expect. So, being blindsided basically means having an unexpected bad outcome. The key word is really unexpected. We didn't expect it to happen. We don't want it to happen. But despite our best efforts, it happens, right? And that's usually the result of losing control of the process. Something went wrong. Something went wrong along the way of getting there, and then we just went another way, right? Something happens. So being blindsided usually means that we got into a bad situation that we did not intend to. Because after all, nobody intends to miss the targets, right? But these things happen. And what we want to talk about today is to make sure we reduce the chances of being blindsided. So, three reasons why we get blindsided. The first one is there's no visible line of sight to the desired outcomes, right? So, people set outcomes, but we actually do not understand the process, or we don't understand the step by step way to get to the outcomes. So, when something happens along the way, we cannot course correct. The second reason why we get blindsided is because we set the wrong KPIs. What are KPIs supposed to do? It's actually supposed to tell us whether are we getting there or not, right? But when we set the wrong KPIs, it's like setting the wrong GPS. It points us in the wrong directions, or we start to aim for the wrong outcomes, thinking that it's going to get there, but it doesn't. And that's why we get blindsided. And the third reason why, from the examples I want to share with you, is really not having somebody accountable for those key processes that will get us to where we want to go. And when you don't have somebody accountable for that process, what usually happens is that there's a lot of people assuming, oh, I thought it was you. No, 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 I thought it was you, or I thought it was him. And that actually leads to us being blindsided, because when something happens, nobody is on top of things. So these are the three reasons why we get blindsided, and I'm going to share with you how to deal with these three things. But firstly, can you identify with any of these three reasons? Because I'm sure every businessman will be able to identify, right? So I hope that what I'm going to share with you today will help you to solve these problems. So the first one, to avoid being blindsided, is to have what we call a good dashboard. The dashboard is like a good GPS for your business. It tells you where you want to go. And what we want to do is to be able to set what we call stepping stone KPIs along the way. What are stepping stone KPIs? It's just like knowing that the end outcome is too far away and you're not sure that by doing these things you will get there. So by the time you realize that, it will be too late. So stepping stone KPIs are those midpoints that tell us that we are on the right track. And the third one is to make sure you have the right person on the right seat. Now, having the right person on the right seat will make sure that you don't get blindsided. So let's talk about these three things, these three ways to make sure we don't get blindsided. Now, first of all, I want to tell you a story. Now, some of you may have driven in Japan before on a holiday, and you might have driven in Hokkaido. And this is actually a route that I took when I set my GPS, and it was at night. And they just said, "Do you want the fastest route?" And I said yes, without realizing which route it was. And they took me onto this mountain pathway called Route 70. Now, I was driving in total darkness going up the hill, and by the time I realized, no, we diverted away from the main road and went up this path. And before I realized it, I was like, oh my God, where am I? It was like total darkness. I was driving uphill, and it was not even a road. It was like this, kind of like a gravel path, right? It was in total darkness with no street lamps, and then our phones lost their signal, and I got really, really worried. But yet, at the same time, the GPS kept saying that yes, you are on the right track. Now, being a stranger to Japan and to Hokkaido, the only thing I could do was to depend on this GPS, right? Besides praying, of course, right? Praying and asking God to guide you. But the GPS just kept telling us, yes, you're on the right track. Do not worry. Even though I was panicking, like, where am I really? And if something happens to me, there's nothing I can do because the phone signals were cut off, and it was in total darkness. But the GPS just kept saying, keep going straight. So, what we really need to have in our business when things are uncertain is to really have a GPS, a dashboard. So a good dashboard gives visibility. It tells you where you are and where you are going to be getting into. And a good dashboard will help us to predict the results. You see, the important thing about prediction is that we don't want to be taken by surprise. So a good dashboard will give us a clue how we're going to end up, and if we are not, then what do we need to change? So the three very important things here are clarity or visibility. Second is about prediction. Where are we going to end up? When? And then the third thing would be, how do we change things, or how do we control things if it's not going the way that we want to? Take a look at this. This is a dashboard, a very rough dashboard that our company set up when we implemented the scaling up methodologies. So I just want to point out to you what it means by visibility. So if you look at here, you have a target, right? 520,000 for the quarter. But how do we get there? Because the quarter has got 13 months. How do I know I'm going to get there? Right, so the actions would be send out 8 proposals a week. So week by week is being done, and slowly you can see that the colors will start to change. And that's when we say we can predict, oh, by doing this set of actions, are we getting there? What are the indicators that tell us we are getting there? Because you don't want to wait until week 13, which is the end, then you say, oh my God, we did not getting to our targets. That's too late. That's being blindsided. Because at this point, at week 6 or week 7, if the yellow still doesn't change to green, then we know, yes, we got to take action. We can still change. So this is actually what a good dashboard does for you. It gives you visibility to where you're going to go and whether those things you're doing, is it working or not. So the second point we're going to talk about is about setting the wrong KPIs. And actually, this is something that happened to my client because they actually set KPIs, and they say, oh, but we are not sure, the results will come in too late, and so we do not know whether we going to get there. But yet they still continue doing those actions, and that is the first point. KPIs become too distant from the target. When you can't see where you're going to go, you may start to set wrong targets, wrong actions, because there's no way to evaluate whether your actions are getting to the results or not. So if that happens, then you have no advance warning on the possible outcomes. The only time you realize would be when it's too late, but then you cannot course correct anymore. So what do we do? How do we deal with a situation where you say, oh, our sales cycle is very long, or our timeline is very long. We really do not know whether what we're doing every week is going to get there or not. By the time we see it, it'll be too late. So let me introduce to you this concept called stepping stones KPI. Right? What are stepping stone KPIs? Just take a look at this picture. Right? You can't get to the end at one go, but you know that every step takes you closer, right? You know when you take that step forward, you get closer. So, what are stepping stone KPIs? So, when my clients saw this diagram, they were like, wow, how come we forgot to set a interim kind of a KPI? So this is how we break it down. First, you have a results that you want. This is your final result. It could be a sales target, it could be a project completion, and then you have these actions that you got to take, right? But if the timeline is too long, you can't see the connection between your actions and the final result that you want. So by the time you get there, you may realize that you do not have the desired result. Then all those actions would have been wasted. So how do we solve this, right? To solve this is to identify what we can term as stepping stone KPIs. So for example, if you say our actions is to send out proposals and our target is to see this sales achieve this sales number, but the sales process is very long. So maybe one interim stepping stone target could be, maybe after our proposal, how many meetings we could have, right, to discuss the proposal. Because if we know that the customer say, okay, I got your proposal, let's meet, then that meeting could become a stepping stone KPI because you're getting closer. So this is actually what we mean. But of course, a very good example we can talk about is in sports. When people talk about buying players, right? Are you a soccer fan or a basketball fan? Because this applies, right, to many sports. When people talk about buying a player, they say, oh, at first the key KPI is how many goals they can score. Goals they can score, more goals means a better player, more valuable player. But they realize that, hey, to shoot, to score, there are many factors beyond this player's control. And that's why you have got very erratic kind of performance, right? One match is good, one match is not good. And then they say, okay, what is that interim goal that we can actually say will give us a better indication that he's a good player? Okay, the number of shots he can take, right? Because the more shots he can take, it increases the chances of him scoring. But then what actions will lead to him being able to score? And then that's when they talk about ball possession. Oh, the longer he can possess the ball gives him more chances to shoot. And if he has more chances to shoot, the higher chances of scoring. So if you break it down, you have the goals as the final KPI, the ball possession as the actions, but the interim is the number of shots that he can take. So that is the importance of having stepping stone KPIs, because stepping stone KPIs tell you, are you getting there or not? And once again, if your sales cycle is very long or your project timeline is very long, you need interim or stepping stone KPIs. Otherwise, the chances of being blindsided is very high, which is what happened to my client. And I helped them to relook at all their dashboards and relook at all the KPIs to see if we can put in stepping stone KPIs so that they will not be blindsided at the end of this year. And the last point is really about having people accountable for a key process. So one of my clients, when they were talking about a very, very important process, and actually that's the inventory. How much stock do I have if I want to achieve a particular sales target, right? I must have enough stock to sell. And they realized that that stock level was always that problem. They were being blindsided when they got enough sales, they don't have enough stock, right? And that's why the sales was delayed. And you know what happened during that meeting was that suddenly the different teams said, "Hey, I thought you were in charge of the inventory. I thought finance was in charge." And finance said, "No, I thought it was operations." And operations thought, "Oh, well, but you know, warehousing is just part of our business. We don't have one person on that." And that was the problem. You don't have one person on top of a key process. And I pointed that out to say that is the number one reason why people get blindsided. You don't have someone providing oversight, accountability, and control. Control means what? Being able to take action when something goes wrong. This is a problem when you have got people sitting on too many seats and you are not linking your key processes to key people and putting a right person on the right seat to do the right thing. And the first question whenever we have got a key process is, who is going to be accountable? Because when you answer that question, then you reduce the chances of being blindsided, because it becomes very, very clear who is going to be accountable. That person, when has to be made accountable, will make sure that those critical numbers are met, right? So when you have that, then you have no more finger pointing. You won't have that kind of situation which I've just described to you, where different departments start saying, "I thought you were in charge of inventory," right? So no more finger pointing, no more ambiguity. You as the boss know exactly who to go for. You know who exactly to talk to. You know who needs to get what done. And the number three point would be, then there will be no more lack of control. So lack of control happens because you don't know what is happening, and by the time you find out, it's too late. As Jim Collins say, having the right person on the right seat to do the right things. And the right things is really, what are those KPIs that tell us that we will not get blindsided. So putting somebody accountable on a key process is a very, very important and key component of making sure you don't get blindsided. So to help this person, then you create that dashboard and you set those stepping stone KPIs for this person. Now, I hope that you can see that all these processes come together to help us to make sure you don't get blindsided. And to help you with that, I would like to share with you this tool that we work with our clients called the FACE tool, Function Accountability Chart. And that talks about identifying key people who are accountable for key results and key actions. So go through this list, and what you want to see is there somebody taking on too many seats, right? The more seats a person take, the harder that person can be accountable for all the key results. And the other thing you want to look out for will be, are there any empty seats? Empty seats would be an indicator that things are going to happen, you're going to get blindsided, and that's also where you want to discover, are there any assumptions? Oh, I thought it was you. No, 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 I thought it was you, right? Those are the things that kills a business. So the three things we learned today that will help us not to get blindsided is, first of all, to have a good GPS, which is you need a dashboard. And second, in the dashboard, you need to capture what we call stepping stone KPIs, not just action and results, but interim points that tell us we're on the right track. And third is to put that right person on the right seat to manage this dashboard. So these three things don't operate independently. You need to put them together into a system, and then every week in your weekly meetings, run through the dashboard with this person. And this way I can guarantee you, you will not get blindsided. You will not miss your targets anymore. So once again, my name is Jeremy. Thank you for listening in. I help companies to implement concepts like this to make sure they succeed, to hit their targets, don't get blindsided, to scale their business, and to get the results that they want. So if you are interested in this series of videos that I share on how to scale your business, or to deal with all those common problems that I see in all the clients that I work with, CEOs like you, the problems that CEOs like you face, then please join our channel where all my videos will be there. So once again, thank you for listening in. And if you want to get in touch with us, contact us at this email, grow@growthcatalyst.com.sg. So if you want the exercise that I've just shared with you, the FACE tool, drop us an email at grow@growthcatalyst.com.sg and we will send it to you. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you for the other videos.